So we'll start with the topic production. Okay. So in consumer behavior, till now we saw something called a utility function, which basically determined how much of X and Y was contributing to the utility of the consumer. And this basically helped us to find out what will be the demand of the consumer. And we assume that whatever is demanded by the consumer in terms of the two goods, X and Y, will be supplied. Okay. So the consumer behavior only looked at the demand angle of the consumer. Now it's time to look at the supply side of the consumer as well. Right? The supply side is basically how much of X and Y will be actually supplied for the consumer. Okay. So the supply side tells us to look at something called the production function. I call Q as the product output that is produced, and the output is obviously a function of raw materials. Raw materials are also called inputs. They are also called factors of production. All hint at the same thing. Everything is absolutely synonymous. The raw material in the production side is the same as inputs in the production side is the same as factors of production. Okay. Now, the factors of production are basically of two types. First type is when a factor cannot be changed in a short period of time, and they are called fixed factors. Okay, cannot be changed in a short period of time. Supposing you're a manufacturer, it's not very simple to change your entire area of manufacturing in terms of the machines, in terms of the land. So all of that will come into the fixed factor of production. And the other factor of production is variable factor of production. Okay, what is a variable that can be changed in a short period of time? Okay, what do I mean by short period of time? Fixed factors are all that can be changed in over a year. Variable factors are all that can be changed in less than a year. Okay, this is the basic definition of a fixed and a variable factor. Okay, different books have different logics. This is the most acceptable logic. Fixed factors are all the factors that take more than a year to change. Variable are all that take less than a year to change. Okay, so there can be multiple factors of production. Okay, but what I do is I club all the fixed factors of production into just one factor, and for theoretical purposes I call it capital. So capital basically represents all the fixed factors clubbed under one umbrella. Okay, and we denote it in economics terms as K. So all the fixed factors can be represented by capital K, and all the variable factors are clubbed under the umbrella labor, and that is represented as L. Okay, so basically the output that is produced by the producer is a function of two factors. One is the fixed factor, the other is the variable factor. So you can write it down in this way. So in the preferences angle, we had a utility function of the consumer that was a function of two goods, X and Y. Similarly, on the supply side, we have an output which is a function of two factors, capital and labor, right? I am actually making this comparison so that all of you can understand this in a more easier manner, because consumer behavior is something that we have already done. Okay. Then in consumer behavior, we had a concept of how much will be the addition to my utility if I increase my X by 1 unit. That was my del U del X. How much is the increase to my utility if I increase my X by 1 unit? That is MUX, or the marginal utility of X. Similarly, we have the marginal utility of Y. Same concept. Here in the production side, we have how much will my output increase by if I increase my L by 1 unit. That is also called the marginal productivity of labor. Absolutely a mirror image concept. Okay. And similarly, how much will my quantity increase if I increase my fixed factor by 1 unit? That is my marginal productivity of capital. Okay. Right. There is, however, another concept which is only relevant to the supply side, and that is the average productivity of labor. That is Q by L. How much is the average productivity of each labor? That is entire output divided by the entire labor that I employ as a producer. Similarly, the average productivity of capital, it's a no-brainer, that's Q by K. Total output divided by capital. Am I right? So these are two concepts which are actually very similar to the consumer behavior side. Okay. Whenever I look at the supply side, there are two time periods that I have in my mind. The period is, one is greater than a year, the other is less than a year. Okay. Greater than a year is something which we call as the long run. Less than a year, I call it the short run. Okay. So it's a no-brainer that in the short run, which is a less than a year, the output is only a function of the variable input or the variable factor of production. The output is only a function of the labor. The reason is, in the short run or less than a year, capital is fixed. I can't change my fixed factor of production. Correct? And this will help me in finding out a relationship between MPL and APL with the production function. Let's see what we have here. This is how the production function and APL and MPL will look. Let me just put in the graph. Okay, so if this is the production function QL, this function will be my average productivity of labor and my marginal productivity of labor. I have an L bar labor beyond which, if I hire more labor, my quantity will fall. Okay, it's like too many cooks spoiling the broth. Too much of labor, given the capital that we have, that they are actually interfering with each other's work, and the output will fall beyond this L bar. That's why the marginal productivity of labor is negative beyond this L bar. Okay. We also notice that at the maximum point of the average productivity of labor, marginal productivity is equal to average productivity, and the maximum point of the average productivity comes at this point, which is, say, L naught. Okay. And point L1 is the maximum point of the marginal productivity of labor, which is below the maximum point of the average productivity of labor. This L1 occurs at the point of inflection on the production function curve. Okay. the maximum of the marginal productivity of labor occurs at the point of inflection that is occurring in the production function. Okay. Let's actually prove all of this if this is a little not clear. We can actually prove it mathematically very simply. So marginal productivity of labor is basically del Q del L. Okay. And if we have to maximize the marginal productivity of labor, we will have to find out the first order derivative, which is basically the second order derivative. Correct? So del 2q del L square is equal to 0 will mean that the curvature of the production function is changing. Where is the curvature of the production function changing? When firstly it is convex, then it is becoming concave. So the point of inflection of the production function will give me the maximum point for the marginal productivity of labor. That is why this point, which is L1, is corresponding to the maximum point of the MPL. Now, why should the maximum point of the APL be also equal to a point which is on the MPL? That also can be done very easily. Q by L is my APL. If I have to maximize my average productivity, what I'll do is I'll do this. So this is a U by V format. So L square L del Q del L minus Q. This has to be equal to 0 for the first order condition for a maxima for the average productivity of labor. So this basically tells us that L square cannot be 0. So L del Q del L minus Q is equal to 0, or in other words, del Q del L is equal to Q by L. Now del Q del L is equal to MPL. So this basically means MPL is equal to APL. This basically transmutes into MPL is equal to APL. And this is happening at the first order condition for APL in order to find out the maxima. Therefore, at the maximum of the APL, MPL is equal to APL. Am I understandable? Am I clear? That is how we got all these points. And obviously beyond this L bar is the maximum point of the production function. Beyond this L bar, the slope will come out to be negative. Slope negative basically means that del Q del L negative. Del Q del L negative basically means marginal productivity of labor negative. That's how we got these 3 points. Okay. Is this understandable how we drew the production function and the APL and the MPL curves? This is basically the short run where only the labor is the factor of production, capital is fixed. Okay. Now, the similarity between the consumer and the production side does not end here. There is a similar concept even in consumer behavior and the production further. In consumer behavior, since the utility function was a two variable function, and here in the production function, we have a two variable function of labor and capital, graphing these curves was not possible. It is possible, but it's difficult because we'll have to make a 3D diagram. Correct? I'll have a L here, I'll have a K here, and I'll have my Q here. So in order to simplify this, we introduced a concept in consumer behavior that was called indifference curves. Now, indifference curves basically measured that if I keep my utility constant, what will be the different combinations of X and Y that I can get? Similarly, in the production side, we have a similar concept which is called isoquants. What is isoquant? Iso, the word means same, and quant is short for quantity. So it literally means same quantity. Okay, so isoquants basically give us the same quantity with different combinations of labor and capital. Okay, so as we saw indifference curves satisfying the properties of a utility function gave us convex indifference curves. Preferences satisfying the basic properties gave us convex indifference curves, where in the xy space u naught is a level of utility. All these combinations of x and y give me the same level of utility u naught. All these combinations of x and y give me the same level of utility, that's u1, so on and so forth. Similarly, in the production side, we have the isoquants in a very similar way, having convex curves where different combinations of L and K give me the same quantity Q naught. Different combinations of L and K give me the same quantity Q1. Different combinations of L and K give me the same quantity Q double dash. Okay. As we saw in case of indifference curves, the higher I go, the higher is the utility. So U1 will be greater than U naught, U double dash will be greater than U1. Similarly, this quantity will be greater than this quantity, and this quantity will be greater than this quantity. Okay. Why is this happening? This was a reason because I assumed my marginal utility of X and Y are positive. This is happening because I assume my MPL and MPK are positive. It's a no-brainer. If I keep my capital constant and I increase my labor with my MPL being positive, obviously I get to a higher quantity. Therefore, it's a no-brainer that all the higher curves will be representing a higher quantity. Am I understandable? So this is what is happening. Okay. And as we saw, the convexity of indifference curves was basically due to a law which was called the law of diminishing marginal utility. The law of diminishing marginal utility basically ensured convexity of indifference curves. Similarly, the law of diminishing marginal returns to factor will ensure the convexity of isoquants. Okay. And the slope of the indifference curves was called the marginal rate of substitution, that was equal to minus mu x by mu y. Similar concept in the isoquant, the marginal rate of technical substitution, we call it. Instead of MRS, we call it MRTS, that is equal to minus MPL by MPK. Clear? So, can you see that it's a like to like comparison in the consumer side and the production side? We had indifference curves, we have isoquants, we have MRS, we have MRTS, we have LDMU, we have LDMR. All the concepts are absolutely synonymous. It's absolutely synonymous. Okay. So this is the concept of isoquant, which is extremely similar to the concept of indifference curves that we have already seen in the consumer side. Now, regarding isoquants, there is another concept. Like in the concept of indifference curves, what happened if I had a satiation point in indifference curves? So, if I had satiation in indifference curves, I had indifference curves looking like this. So in indifference curves, if we had two quantities x and y, okay, so after X bar, X becomes a bad commodity. So X greater than X bar, MUX negative. Y greater than Y bar, MUY negative. That is what we saw with the concept of satiation in indifference curves. We have a very similar concept in isoquants. In indifference curves, we did not actually name what we will call if we connect all these points beyond which the MUX and MUY would be negative. We have this concept having a name in the production side. So this is say L, this is K. Okay. Look at these isoquants. Okay. This is a point beyond which MPK is negative. This is a point beyond which MPL is negative. Correct? And if I join all the points where MPK and MPL are becoming negative, the locus of these points gives me something called ridge lines. It's a new concept on the production side, wherein if I join all the points where the marginal productivity of capital is 0 and beyond this it is becoming negative. Similarly for MPL, at this point it is equal to 0, beyond it it is becoming negative. If I join all these points, I'll get something called ridge lines. Okay, so this is a point where, why is this given a name? This is actually given a name because this is a point that tells us that we have too little labor and too much capital. So the point where MPK becomes negative, I as a producer get a hint, I have too much capital and too little labor. Similarly, MPL negative will mean the opposite. I have too much labor and too little capital. So think about it in this way. I have too much labor and too little capital if MPL is negative. Similarly, MPK negative will also mean the same thing. So this is another new concept which I did not have in consumer behavior, which I have in production side. Okay, these are called ridge lines. RIDGE lines. Okay, that's RIDGE.
If you like this video, please visit us at our website edusure.in. You can contact us here, and to see more about our courses, you can see under the drop down here. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.